Hello, friends, and welcome to the Blue Sky Lounge, your favorite spot in the podcasting world to let your imagination run wild and armchair imagineer all things Disney. I'm Tyler Iantkow, and I'm here to take you on a journey where we dream, create, and explore the Disney magic that lives inside our hearts and minds. Now, whether you're a Disney aficionado, a passionate dreamer, or just someone looking to add a touch of pixie dust to your day, this podcast is a portal to a world where creativity knows no bounds. Together, we'll reimagine, redesign, and dream up the Disney experiences of our wildest fantasies, from new resorts and park attractions down to even the tiniest details that make Disney experiences truly enchanting. Now, don't forget to subscribe to the Blue Sky Lounge on your favorite podcast platform and connect with us on social media where you can share your armchair imagineering ideas. Who knows, your idea might even be featured on one of our next episodes. And speaking of episodes, this is episode 33, and our guest today is the Dapper Danielle. That's right, folks, the Dapper Danielle is on our show. Today, Danielle and I will be discussing the addition of a new Epcot pavilion. Now get ready to let your creativity soar as we invite you to put on your Mickey ears, sit back, and join us here in the Blue Sky Lounge. And as Walt once said, if your imagination is ready, here we go. All right, well, we have Danielle Kelly, or the Dapper Danielle, with us here today. Thank you, Danielle, for agreeing to be on the pod.
Absolutely. Glad to be here.
So we are going to get underway now. As I have told you, let my guest decide on the topic. Yeah. We, as a show, let you decide, and you have chosen to pick a new country around the World Showcase in Epcot.
Mm-hmm.
So where are we going? What are we doing? What are we putting in?
You know, I was really debating this, and I was going back and forth. And actually, here recently, right before the hurricane came in, I had the opportunity to talk with a couple of students. That there was 17 students, I believe. I think only 13 of them were actually in this talking that I did, but they were from a art business college in Brazil.
Oh, cool.
And one of their professors follows me and reached out and said, "Hey, we're doing a lot of stuff on Imagination Campus. Would you mind coming in and talking with these students, talking more about the influencer side? Because you do have a presence overseas, and in other countries. Like, what's going on with that? Can you come in and answer their questions, because they want to know more and not just hear it just from like the Disney Imagination Campus type side of the spectrum. They want to hear from someone that's in that weird in between and the influencer side."
Yeah.
And I said, "Yeah, absolutely. I'll come on in." And one of their top questions was talking about D23, and because there's D23 is coming to Brazil for the very first time. They're going to be having their own convention. They are so excited about it. They are over the moon about it. And as I was talking with them, they were like, "So do you think one of the announcements for D23 in Brazil is going to be that Brazil's getting a country in Epcot?"
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "Okay, actually, I do kind of know. Let me break it down to you of the circle of how Disney spends money. If they decide to do that, it won't be until like 2030, 2032.
Yeah.
Okay." And they're just like, and I was like, "I'm so sorry to break your hearts," because there was an unanimous like, "Oh," in the room. And I was just like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, guys. I'm so sorry." But I'm setting your expectations low. If they announce something last minute, it's going to be a miracle.
Yeah.
And so it made me start thinking, like, originally I was thinking like some other countries, but then I was thinking, it does make a lot of logical sense to bring in a Brazilian pavilion.
Absolutely.
Brazilian pavilion. I like how that rolls off the tongue.
Right. That's awesome. I completely agree. I worked at Le Cellier in Canada for a year.
Yes.
And working in Epcot for a year, you see lots of Brazilian tourists and a lot of Brazilian tour groups. So I think if they did do a Brazilian pavilion, that does roll off the tongue really well.
Yeah.
If they did do that, it would be very popular.
Well, okay, now that's the thing though, is that I think the only thing Imagineers are really worried about is that it becomes like the American pavilion, where Americans won't step into their own pavilion because they think they know all about their own country. So if you have so many Brazilians, will they step into their own Brazilian pavilion. And will they actually, if they make up such a large demographic of our tourists during the
Yeah,
summer months, will they actually go into that pavilion and spend money
that's
when
true.
they come from that country?
That's true.
I need to know the data on that. Like that's something, and that's something else I've been thinking of also as
Hmm.
we've been talking about this and as I was talking to those other students too. Uh interest.
Yeah. So being a Canadian, working in the Canada Pavilion, going to Epcot, I love going to the Canada Pavilion myself.
Okay.
I love going there. Grant, it's not a perfect representation. No country is a perfect representation. My wife's from the UK. We go to the UK Pavilion. It's not a perfect representation. We get that, but
The
I
totem
still
poles aren't technically from Canada. They're made by an Alaskan artist, which I mean is close
right.
enough, but it's
Man.
fine.
um, but it's still that nostalgic thing. It's like, oh, okay, like this is the one place that I can go where I can almost feel like home. Um,
Okay.
but I don't know. I can definitely understand both ways of that, of whether or not they would want them to go and almost be like judgmental, or if they're going to spend the money there. But I also look at it as I think of like the Mexican pavilion with like the big giant indoor courtyard right outside the restaurant and the Three
Yeah.
Caballeros ride and stuff. And just I think of like the marketplace. That's the word. And just think of like how cool the um, merchandise would be from that country. And even if it's not necessarily um, pandering to those from Brazil, I think it would still be a very big pull for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
I think what's funny is that I think from the American standpoint, I would be intrigued to have a Brazilian pavilion. Um, Mostly because I know from somebody that worked in the front lines of Disney World as if a guest facing for
Yeah.
so many years that I understand and I know how the culture speaks and I know when they come up and ask questions and
Mm-hmm.
like all this other stuff and I get kind of a bearing of what they like and what they don't like,
Yeah.
but I would be very intrigued to find something that represents their history because I feel like
Mm-hmm.
all the things that we know as Americans is just how when they come as tourists to us, we don't actually know anything about their culture
Yeah.
or about them back at home. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be really cool representation here in
Yeah,
Epcot.
for sure. All right, so we're gonna put a Brazilian pavilion in.
Okay.
Where in Epcot are you gonna put it? Like, there's like 5 or 6 open spaces.
Hmm.
Where do you think the ideal spacing would be? Or if you want to take out another pavilion, you can do that too.
I necessarily want to take out another pavilion just because, like, I don't know, Epcot in a weird way, because it's been there for so long,
Hmm.
right? If you take one out, will that actually ruffle the feathers, especially now with the power of the internet,
Right?
with those other countries? And will they take it personally too? Oh, you
Twitter
think the
or X is
Brazilians
gonna
are better than us?
explode. Yeah, for sure.
Um, so I feel like we would have to put it in one of the empty spaces,
That's fair.
right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of what my empty spaces technically are. So there's the ones that it's like you would take out the trains over in Germany and place it over there.
Yeah, you could do that. You could take out the World Showplace between Canada and the UK.
That's true,
There used to be space between France and Morocco, but Remy took that up.
right? I almost feel like we need, not that we need to encroach on Morocco's territory, but I do think we need to maybe put it over there in
Okay.
between Germany.
Okay.
Like if we were to remove the trains, push it back a little bit more,
Yeah.
and if nothing's going to open up in that restaurant back there in the back of
Yeah.
Morocco, knock down those walls, seal off that door, and have it expand. I'm just thinking in the back layout. See, that's where my mind's going. Is the
Yeah.
back technical layout is that you could knock those walls down, close it off, and actually have the restaurant in Brazil back up into the back of Morocco,
Yeah.
and take up that space. Just because I feel like it's not, there is a lot of space of certain countries that just aren't being utilized.
Yeah.
And Morocco looks beautiful, and I think it's fantastic. But with all the third party, third party stuff happening over in the pavilion,
Yeah.
um, might as well make it a little bit smaller and take over some of that backspace.
Fair enough. All right. So when you build this pavilion, what do you feel are going to be the key highlights? Is there going to be a ride? You mentioned a restaurant. What kind of things are you going to find there?
Definitely food. I
Okay.
think food is going to be the big thing. Or oh my goodness, I think one of the best things here in Florida is the Brazilian bakeries.
Oh,
And let's if you want a third party vendor, and y'all, like, I know some people listen to me. Okay. That I know some Imagineers, some people out there listening to me.
yeah.
I'm just saying is that we got people over in Kissimmee on 192,
Yeah.
those bakeries over there. If you don't want to have to do it, Disney, you just pay them
Yeah.
to come in and fill the space, and they'll do their whole operation out of there.
Yeah.
And it is so good. I
Yeah.
order too much and it goes bad too quickly every
Yeah.
time I go because
Oh,
my eyes are bigger than my stomach.
yeah.
And I want all of it. I want all the Brazilian cheese bread. I want all the desserts.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. The coffees. Oh, that's what I want.
Interesting. I didn't know that there was such a big uh Brazilian bakery kind of influence there. So,
Well, you wouldn't know unless you were like kind of part of that culture, or you just eat around Orlando a little too much. I think that was the other portion of it. But one of these bakeries ended up opening. Oh my gosh, what's the name of it? I mean, you have to look it up. But they expanded and they have a couple of locations, and one is in downtown Celebration.
oh, cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. What would you have any other kind of food options in the pavilion?
Well, I feel like we don't really have a good representation of like South America food besides Mexico. And
Hmm.
even then, the Mexico food's really catering to the white people version of Mexico.
Yeah,
And and
Tex-Mex version.
yes, it is. It
Yeah,
feels a little more Tex-Mex in a couple of options.
yeah,
Which like I get it. Some people really, really love. So I think it'd be cool to have a little more of an authentic South American flair
hmm,
restaurant and just have it be represented over in Brazil. I think that
yeah.
would be really good. I want some really good like grilled chicken meals. Like, yeah, I don't know.
I'm
That
just
just
in
sounds fantastic.
like a tapas restaurant, kind of like smaller portions.
Mm.
I think that would be a really big hit.
It would be a big hit. I think just anything with a little extra spice, a
Yeah,
little extra flavor would
yeah,
be very much needed over
yeah.
uh in Epcot because
Mhm.
I feel like the new restaurant over I haven't tried it yet, but I've heard good things. The new restaurant on the top of Japan, the one
Oh,
that replaced Tokyo Dining, and
yes, I
I'm blanking
haven't.
on the name.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about. I can't think of the name either off the top of my
I've
head.
heard good things, and
Yeah,
that's on my list to try here sooner than later.
yeah,
And I would love to try something new over
yeah,
in Epcot.
yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, it's it's always nice to have like that new option to go to for sure. I mean, everybody has their staples. When my family goes, we always go to Beer Garden, Germany.
Really?
Oh yeah, love
See,
the beer
I'm just
garden.
not a big German food fan. I'm so sorry to our
No,
German
that's
listeners.
all
I'm just
right.
not a big fan of German food.
That's fair. Yeah, I, 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 it is a very heavy meal. I
Yes.
personally like to go to listen to the band more than the food, but
Yes.
but yeah, um, but like it's more the atmosphere for the beer garden for us for sure.
Oh yeah, like the vibes are immaculate.
Yeah.
However, leaving afterwards, I am very sluggish and it
Oh
has to
yeah.
be really late in the evening because I will not be able to function.
Yeah. You don't want to go like midday, 3 o'clock,
Oh,
heat of the
heat of
day.
the day,
No.
and then you feel like a German sausage rolling out of there, like you're
Yeah.
done.
So definitely go kind of later in the day for sure. Um, yeah. No. All right. So we talked about food. What kind of like shopping do you envision for this pavilion?
And that I think that's something of I would have to do more research because I
Mhm.
know and kind of understand what the Brazilians like to shop for when
Yeah.
they come to us here in Disney World.
Yeah.
But I would love to know what is like the shopping everyday norm, or like what's the tourist item that you would buy in real Brazil.
Yeah.
And I think that would have to be sold there in the merchandise shops.
Yeah.
But I think that would take a little more research
Yeah.
and deciding what that would be,
Yeah. That's
you
fair.
know?
I do. I've never been to Brazil, but I do envision something like I said earlier, like the marketplace in Mexico, where it's like this big marketplace full of like, a lot of cultural, knick-knacky type things that the tourists can get. I think that would be a really big hit for sure.
Oh yeah. And there's so many people that have like moved from Brazil here locally that
Mhm.
are still considered Brazilian artists that are
Yeah.
here in Central Florida.
Yeah.
Bring them in, have them be doing like live street painting or something
Yeah.
like that. And then you
Absolutely.
can just buy those like small canvases or something.
Yeah.
Or maybe they're painting on some type of like wood items or something like that. Because
Yeah.
we have the wood carvers over in Africa in
Hmm.
the outpost. And then we
Yeah.
have um the cheap little paintings of like over in Paris, the ones that
Oh
look like
yeah.
they're of the Eiffel Tower. I
Yeah.
would love to see a full-time artist like housed
Yeah.
over in the Brazil pavilion.
That'd be awesome. Very cool. So every pavilion is kind of themed around that country. So like, France has got like the Eiffel Tower and you have the big giant pagoda for Japan and I think it's Liberty Hall for the US pavilion. What do you envision the Brazilian pavilion to look like? What kind of like Brazilian landmarks do you see in your head?
That's a good question. Hold on. Let me see if I'm not gonna be able to pronounce the name correctly at all.
Yeah.
Which is very unfortunate. Hold on. Let me see if I can find what it was. Hmm. I don't know. I feel like because a lot of us, when we think of Brazil, we think a lot of like the nature aspect of
Hmm.
Brazil, a
The
lot of
Amazon.
the over the top
Yeah.
waterfalls, some of the rainforests surrounding the area.
Hmm.
So would you turn it into a like half nature section, half like on the outskirts of a
Hmm.
town kind of vibe? I think that would be kind of cool. Make it a
Yeah.
walkthrough experience, very shaded, uh, not full on Moana Journey of Water, but would still have those
Okay.
waterfall aspects. And
Okay.
I am thinking like if you get because if you add the waterfall aspect to it and you put it towards the back,
Yeah.
that white noise would also do a very good job of canceling out the noise of the buses of the cast members that travel back there
That's
backstage.
very true. 100%.
So if you
Yeah.
could go further into the back of that area, closer to where that road is back there.
Yeah. Yeah. There's lots of space back there for sure.
There is. Oh my gosh, there's so much space back
Yeah.
there, y'all. You have no idea.
I I remember working there and taking that bus and like before, there was festivals 365 days a year, they would put the festival kiosks all back there. Ooh, sorry. Um, and um, yeah, it was really weird kind of driving past it in like, April, May, or not April, but like, June
When there wasn't a festival
when there
happening
wasn't a festival
regularly.
and you just see like, like Ireland and like, all these different countries festival kiosks back there. It's like, oh, all right, well, that's where they're kept. And but
Well,
it's
and there's a couple times where, because when I worked there, or I didn't work there, I was never really status there, but I picked up shifts there every once in a while.
yeah,
And driving backstage, I would be like, there's so much room for activities.
right,
And this land is already bulldozed.
yeah,
Like, why? Okay, you know what? Random tangent in the middle of the podcast, so you probably don't care about, but I'm going to tell you anyway. Um, why didn't we focus in D23 on expanding or adding a attraction into Epcot where the land is already worked over, it's already done,
hmm,
you wouldn't be disrupting the overall like front half of the park.
yeah,
It would actually be more disruptive to the cast members backstage in
yeah,
Epcot. I mean, yeah, I understand we're working on Test Track, but that doesn't count. I'm talking like specifically World Showcase
yeah,
Pavilion. And instead, you're having issues with permitting and getting like moving around Florida wetlands over in Magic Kingdom.
Yep.
Like there was a way cheaper financial option and could have made some country very, very happy and they didn't choose to go with that. I think that
Yeah.
was very interesting.
Right. 100% agree.
Mm.
100% agree.
See, that's just my 2 cents. I could keep going on that
That's
one. That would
fair.
be
That's fair.
we'll finally bring in the river boat cruise for Germany. We'll finish bringing
Right.
that in. That
Right.
that space is blocked off.
Yeah.
That's ready.
Yeah.
We'll do some type of simulator over in Japan of you going through downtown Tokyo on like on a runaway cart or something like that. That would be
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah, I don't know. The
That's
options
fair.
are endless.
Right. So once we started talking about Brazil, I envisioned, it's funny that you bring up the German boat ride because I envision like this German boat ride slash living with the land version of like Brazilian Amazon and like learning about the Brazilian Amazon. And you're going down the Amazon River and they're like talking about deforestation, how Brazil, not just Brazil, but because a large part of the Amazon is in Brazil, how it's being deforested for because the population is increasing so much, so they need to take the forest away, and talk about like conservation that way, and like how it's disrupting animals and habitats and things like that. I think that would be a really cool way for Disney conservation to get that message out there of the deforestation and whatnot, and
Mhm.
see what could happen, and educate people that way. And Epcot, I remember when I was a kid, I hated going to Epcot all the time because it was it's the learning part. I don't want to learn, I'm on vacation, right? I, as an adult, I love going to Epcot.
Well,
Like,
and I think if you're going to be eating so much too, you need kind of a relaxing ride there
right.
in the back middle section because so many people are going to be wandering over from Germany
Yeah.
next door and they're going to be sloshed. They're going to be done. They need to sit down on a relaxing boat ride anyway. And if they learn something out of it, then that's extra bonus points.
Right, exactly.
Um, which is kind of hard because I also feel like there would be a need, like if there was room for two attractions, right? So you have the slow moving boat ride, and I
Yeah.
love that concept so much because that is something I initially thought of too.
Yeah.
But if you were to have a thrill attraction there also, I don't want to do like another water flume ride, you
Hmm.
know?
Yeah.
I like it would go along with the theming also and more of the excitement side of it. But I almost feel like Epcot needs some type of next step up thrill attraction.
Yeah.
And if it just happens to be in themed along with the stories of Brazil, I think that would be great.
Hmm.
And just put that in the back middle over there, pull some of the attention away from Frozen, pull some of the attention away from Ratatouille,
Yeah.
and pull people into that back section of the park.
Yeah. Isn't one of the three caballeros from Brazil? Isn't like Panchito from Brazil?
Yes.
Have a
Jose
continuation of the
is.
the the three caballeros,
That would actually be such interesting history to get into because
right?
his design and his name is from a cartoonist, an artist that was from Brazil. And
Okay.
Walt Disney specifically went down to Brazil when they were doing their South America tour
Yeah.
and said, "Hey, I want you to come work for me." And he's like, "Uh, nah, bruh. I think I'm good." He actually said no, but he
Wow.
did work with Disney in creating Jose.
Yeah.
Um, and kind of help lend a bit to that. But he didn't continue working with Disney and he didn't go back to California with him.
Yeah.
But
Interesting.
he was a really big part of Brazilian cartoon art. And also, it was another art style too. It was some other type of modernism art in that area.
That's cool. I learned
Yeah.
something today. I didn't know that. There you
Yeah.
go. Very cool. The so we talked about restaurant. We talked about the attraction. We were talking about the overall aesthetics of it and how being part rainforest, part city buildup. That was the other thing I wanted to say is if you did do like this, granted, like you said, there are a lot of water flume rides, but if you did do like a rainforest type attraction, you could like have the queue going through the rainforest and stuff. I just think that would be really cool.
It would be
Um,
really cool.
we talked about shopping. Uh, is there anything else that you would want to see there? Like I don't know of a lot of Brazilian characters. off the top of my head, other
We don't
than the three
have a
Caballeros.
right. We don't have a lot of Brazil. Well, hold on. Let me double check my answer before I say anything else. But um, Disney characters. I think it's only going to pull up Jose.
Yeah.
There are a couple other characters, but they're all within the Donald Duck universe
Okay.
because they represent a lot of the other birds from
Yeah.
the Amazon.
Yeah.
Um, so that could be really interesting. But yeah, there's no representation. So maybe what we have to do is work on a animated movie or something along those lines in the entertainment side,
There you go.
in the visual media side. Have that be created focusing on Brazilian culture and
Yeah.
then bring those aspects in to tie into an attraction or tie into the land.
Yeah. Corporate synergy. There you go.
Yes.
Yeah. There you go, Disney. We discovered, we
Yes.
broke the mold for you.
Well, and that's where, I mean, unless something's announced, again, Brazil D23, it would make sense to announce some type of movie or
Right?
something like that catering
Yeah.
to them.
Yeah.
If not, at least a TV show on Disney Plus,
Yeah.
like some type of animated movie.
Yeah.
Uh, but we didn't hear anything at D23 at the regular one.
Yeah. It
I
was,
don't.
that was an interesting conference to say the or expo to say the least for
Were you
sure.
there?
I was not. I have
Okay.
not had the privilege of going to. I'm hoping in 2 years I'll be able to go. But
Yes. I mean, it's a very cool experience. It's a
yeah,
little overwhelming. This last trip was a lot. Oh my
yeah,
gosh, it was so much. The Honda experience and the like being in the center, being in the room
yeah,
with all the announcements was very cool,
yeah.
very tiring afterwards, but
I
very
can
cool.
only imagine how tiring it must be. Like, just not only that, but just to be like on the expo floor in the convention center, and then having to go to the Honda Center to be there for those like I'm just tired to think about it. Like,
Right. Well, and that's where by the last night for the Disney Legends Award, I was like, I don't I like the popular famous people, but I
yeah,
don't need to go. So
right,
I didn't end up going onto the Legends Award night.
yeah,
And I just stayed because I didn't realize how much of the convention floor I had missed.
yeah.
And I didn't realize that there was a second floor room all the way
Oh,
on the
really?
far side. And I
Yeah,
literally got to it in the last 30 minutes of the show. And I was like,
yeah,
where was this the whole time?
yeah, yeah. I've had people on the podcast that have gone, and they're just like, it's massive. Like, you
It
need to
is.
spend at least 2 days there for sure.
Oh
So
yeah. Well, and then I think being on the side where I was not a direct invite influencer, I was brought on in as a plus one of an influencer.
yeah,
So they had things that they had to do
yeah,
that they were obligated to do, and they
yeah,
didn't get to see half of the things I got to see, and I
yeah,
still feel like I missed stuff.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's, I'm hoping that I can scrounge up enough to go in a couple years, but we'll see. It's hard,
Start planning
with the
ahead.
family and juggling everything and whatnot, but we'll
And you're
see.
like, I gotta at least bring the wifey. Even if we don't bring the kids, we at least gotta bring the wifey.
Right? Leave the kids
Oh,
with grandma and grandpa for a few days.
yeah, exactly. Exactly.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. Uh, where can we find you on the socials? What kind of stuff do you have going on? This is your time to put the spotlight on you.
Okay, let's do the laundry list real quick.
There you go.
Luckily, though, I am the Dapper Danielle on most of the socials, on the Instagram, the Facebook, the TikToks, not on the Twitters. I'm not over there.
That's fine.
I am on Threads though, and I am the Dapper Danielle over there. Also on YouTube. The YouTube is still, she's chugging away over there. She's just
Yeah.
doing her thing.
Yeah.
We're gonna try to give her some more love here very very soon, so more to come, more to
Okay.
come. Also there is my podcast that I host with Megan the Magical Millennial. We mentioned that a little bit earlier,
You
and
did.
that's going to be Disney Countdown Show wherever you listen to your podcast. So maybe go check us out over there where we talk a little bit about Disney World, a little bit about Disneyland, and everything in between too. And where else am I? Oh, well, more projects are in the works. I
Well,
can't talk about them
all right.
just yet, but more cool things to come. So definitely
Yep.
be go ahead and check out the socials.
Very cool. Definitely give the podcast a listen to. I listen to it. It's amazing. The countdowns are always so much fun, and you and Megan are the banter between you guys is just spot on. I love it. So I'm glad that you guys were able to do that and to, bring it out to us in the world. So we want to say thank you for coming on to our pod, giving us the time to come on, and I hope you can come back. I had a lot of fun today.
Thank you, Tyler. No, I liked it. And as soon as you were talking about, you sent me the message saying, "Oh, well, I want to talk about some blue skies projects and all this other stuff." And I'm like, I haven't really talked about any of that kind of
Yeah,
stuff over on a podcast or anything like that yet. So I was like, sure, let's go
yeah,
ahead and try it. Let's talk it up a little bit.
yeah.
And I really liked your icebreaker questions. Those made me think a lot here, a little too early in the morning for me.
That's
But
fair.
anything before noon Florida time is a lot for me.
Yeah, and it's even earlier here. So
Oh, that's right. Because where you're on
I live
the
in
farther side of Canada.
yeah, I live in Calgary, so on the west, like just above Montana. So
What
it's
time is it there for you?
quarter to 10.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's all right. It's fine. My daughter woke me up at 6 o'clock this morning, so it's fine.
You were ready anyway.
Right? Exactly. So,
Oh my goodness.
well, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. And go check out the Dapper Danielle on the socials and on the Disney Countdown podcast.
Yes, thank you so much. Do you
No
want me to
worries.
sign out with mine?
Sure, go for it.
Okay. So thank you again for listening. Until next time, night night, sleep tight, dream of churros tonight.
Well, thank you for joining us here on the Blue Sky Lounge today. If you enjoyed this episode and want to stay connected with us, there are a few ways you can do just that. First and foremost, don't forget to subscribe to the Blue Sky Lounge on your preferred podcast platform. By subscribing, you'll ensure you'll never miss a moment of our enchanted Disney discussions. By subscribing, you'll ensure that you never miss a moment of our enchanting Disney discussions. And if you're loving what you're hearing, we'd be thrilled if you could take a moment, share this episode, and leave us a review. Your feedback means the world to us. And who knows, we might even read one of your reviews on an upcoming episode. You can also stay connected with us beyond our show by following us on social media. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and X or Twitter by searching the Blue Sky Lounge. They're the perfect place to share your own Imagineering ideas, connect with fellow Disney enthusiasts, and get a behind-the-scenes peek of what's happening in the Blue Sky Lounge. For those who want an extra dose of magic, make sure to check out our YouTube channel. There you'll find visuals that accompany the audio journey of our podcast, adding an extra layer of enchantment to your Disney experience. Now, as we wrap up today's episode, we'd like to note that the Blue Sky Lounge is not affiliated with the Disney Company in any way. This is a fan-run show featuring fan ideas and artwork that is in no way any true representation of what may or may not happen in the Disney Company in the future. Now remember, dreams and imagination know no bounds, and we can't wait to explore the wonderful world of Disney armchair Imagineering with our amazing Blue Sky Lounge family. Until next time, remember to think, believe, dream, and dare yourself to use your imagination. Who knows what kind of Blue Sky Imagineering you can do from your armchair. Thanks.